everyone, to another episode of Millionaires Are Made. Today, we are talking about how to improve your intellectual health by the use of phone apps or the lack thereof. I don't know how that just happened. Give me just 1 second. Sorry, we just added Instagram, so we gotta go live here. So today we're talking about phone apps and intellectual health. We've got three awesome guests. It'll give you three quick tips. Before we really get started, there's three things that I would like to go over. First, we need more topics. So if you have anything you want to learn about or know about, anything in the world works on our show, please comment, message us, say hi. DM us is a big thing you guys love to do. But let us know. I mean, we can talk about peanuts or water bottles. It doesn't matter. Give us a topic and we'll put it on air. Second thing, if you want to sponsor one of our shows, go ahead and let us know. We love to have sponsors, people that want to get their name in front of a bunch of viewers. Again, DM us, let us know. And the third thing is we always need more guests. We do 6 guests every week. So if you want to get on air and you want to have a little piece of information shared with the whole world, let us know. We'd love to have you on. Without further ado, my tip to increase your intellectual health with phone apps is an app called Lumosity. So Lumosity is an app that I do about 5 minutes every day. It's like games that are scientifically structured in order to improve your intellectual health. You get a little smarter, you get a little active, your brain builds a little more. And the cool thing I like about them is that they actually use science to back up their claims versus some apps that just say it's going to do it. And so that's why I'm going to recommend Lumosity. After that, we're going to bring up our first guest here, and it's going to be quite an interesting tip, so I hope you all enjoy it. Hey, Christopher, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
I've got a question for you, Christopher.
Yeah, go for it.
Who are you?
I am Christopher Bauer. I am a serial entrepreneur. I have a classic car restoration shop as my first business, and I also have a live training called Leaving Legacy Live for entrepreneurs and founders.
Very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, let's go and get into it. I can't wait to hear your response to this next question. If I wanted to improve my intellectual health using phone apps, what advice would you give me?
I would say learn to live without the phone.
Wow. Tell me more about why I wouldn't use a phone.
Well, without having the phone, you can increase your productivity. You can have better focus. You're not constantly distracted by notifications and stuff coming up constantly that's disturbing you. Yeah.
Very cool. How do you use a phone right now?
I just got one back in August. I didn't have one for 3 years.
And do you have ways to limit how much you use your phone?
It's not on currently.
How often do you turn it on?
Later on in the day when I want to. Some days I just forget about it.
Yeah, that's actually got to be pretty refreshing. All right. Well, let me ask you this. What on your life journey led you to learn that advice? Tell us about it. Tell us about your past.
I lost my phone in 2018. That's how I kind of learned this. Like literally, bus ride home, fell out of my pocket. Didn't replace it immediately. It took me 3 months before I got a replacement phone. And even then, it was like I was barely using it at that point.
And so those 3 months, you just kind of said, I don't need a phone. I'll learn to live without it. And just started.
Pretty much.
And so then you got your phone back, and what happened?
I got it back in 2018. I didn't use it much, if any. I had it up until 2020, and then, what happened in 2020? I just said, all right, I'm done. I'm going to drop it and focus more on the business.
And so you've built businesses, you're an entrepreneur, and you do it all without a phone.
Well, I just got it in August of 2023.
Okay. Well, you minimally use it, I guess.
Extremely minimal.
Extremely minimal. That's awesome. So I guess let me ask you this. And what do you find any difficulties running a business without a phone? Are there certain things that you wish you did have your phone for?
No, I mean, LinkedIn can be a bit of a pain because you can't do lives and stuff on the laptop. You require a phone for that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but other business stuff unaffected.
Interesting. Very cool. Well, anything else you'd like to add?
No, you can come back to me in a bit.
All right, sounds good. We'll talk to you in a little bit, Christopher. We'll move on to our next guest here. So, living without your phone, accidentally lose it, and it's life changing. Very few people can say that. Hey, Donna, how you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm having a great one. It looks like it's about to storm here. Living on an island beach here, so we'll see if the rain comes in and ruins everything. But I have a question for you.
I
Donna,
wonder what it could be.
Donna, who are you?
That's a great question. I'm Donna Apidoni. I'm a professional communicator. I have a strong background in persuasion theory, which I'll tell you about a little bit as we go through. I spent most of my career as the host of Morning Edition on NPR stations, and I've spent a lot of that time in Northern California. California is the fourth largest economy in the world, and I live in its capital. So I have all the lobbyists, all the legislators listening to the show that I did every morning. It was a lot of fun, but I learned how to connect with people because I knew some very important people were listening. Along the way, I wrote 2 books. One is about finding purpose. The other one is a collection of meditations, motivators, really, to really get you going in the morning. So those are a couple of the things that I do and who I am.
Very cool. Wow. It sounds like you've done quite a lot. So I've got a very important question for you.
Yeah. What is that?
If I wanted to increase my intellectual health by the use of phone apps, what would you recommend to me?
Well, having spent a lot of my time listening to news coverage and a lot of my time working in a newsroom, I am a little bit different from the people who say, oh, news coverage is too much, I'm going to turn it off. I think you should do it differently. Okay. I think you should get the apps, and I'll name a few, get the apps that give you good, solid, broad spectrum news coverage. And then instead of listening to something and saying it's too much, what if you listen to it with compassion? What if you listened to news coverage and said, I can kind of relate to that person. I understand what that person might be going through. That person is a son or a daughter or a spouse just like I am. So my advice is to listen to news coverage, but do it with compassion.
With compassion. So is that compassion for, they have a family, they're just trying to do their job and do the best they can?
Right. And look where they go in the world just to make sure that you're informed.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but let's dive in a tiny bit more.
Okay.
What on your life journey led you to believe this? Also, we do want to hear you name some of those apps, some of those quality news apps versus some of the other ones.
Yeah, I'll do both of those. Something that helped me to understand that compassion in news coverage had less to do with the actual news coverage and more to do with my work environment at the time. For a while, I was working for somebody who was really tough to work for. I didn't enjoy working for him all that much. But then I realized that he's just the guy who signs the checks. I don't have to like him. The people who I'm really working for are the audience. And that's true for anybody who owns a business or works in any business. It's who are your constituents? Who is your audience? That's really who you're working for. So keeping them in mind and understanding what they would want to hear in news coverage was part of the reason that I came to that. The apps, here's what's on my phone. Apple's news coverage. I know I have an iPhone and an iPad, and it's really not cool. A lot of people don't subscribe to that at all. But what I like about Apple's news app is that it's very broad. And there are other ones that do the same thing. Within that app, you'll find a lot of other apps. So they're selecting, they're curating, and I feel like I get a pretty broad look at news coverage that way. NPR, of course, because I worked for national public radio stations for all of my life. Also, BBC World News. That's one that I go to on my phone and my tablet every day. It suggested to me by someone who lived for a long time in Ukraine. And she said that's what they were listening to all the time, to make sure that they understood what was going on from not just their country, but the broader world perspective. And that's what I get when I go to that app, BBC World News. It's not American news. It's not British news. It is really news from around the world, and I think it's covered very nicely. There's one other app that I want to suggest to you because it's mine. Is that okay?
Oh, please tell us all about your app.
Okay, I will.
Share it.
The broad app is called Substack, and maybe you've heard of it. A lot of writers get onto Substack, and a lot of it is written word. Some great people on there, some names you know, some you've never heard of, but good writers. What I have on Substack are recordings of the meditations that I use, and they're really vibrant motivators to get you going every day. And that app is donnaappadoni.substack.com. Once a week, I post a new Monday mornings. I post a new motivator to get you going, and you can listen to it over and over. Families listen to these sometimes, and then they talk about them so that their kids can get an idea of what they can do and how they can find purpose in their lives. So that's an app I would really highly recommend. You can get samples. You can get samples of the weekly motivator for free, and then if you want to, like for pennies a day, you can subscribe.
And let's go over that website again. donnaappadoni.substack.com.
Yes.
Right,
DonnaAppadoni.substack.com. And I see you just posted it. It's perfect. That's it.
Perfect. All right.
Well,
hey, Donna, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was great talking to you, and we'll see you in just a couple minutes.
Okay.
All right. She has her own news app. Obviously, you got to download that. And BBC and Apple News were also rated as good. So if you're looking for a general broad spectrum news sources, those are a couple apps for you. Hey, Jesse, how you doing this morning?
Wow. It's been great. Donna was amazing, actually. I'm impressed.
Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool,
Yeah.
huh? All about the news, which is important. We gotta keep up with the times. That's for sure.
Right. That's right.
All right, Jesse, I've got a question for you. Who
good.
are you?
I'm an entertainer, and I help event planners create safe, clean, fun, engaging events all over Canada, actually. And this is something near and dear to my heart. The whole intellectual app thing, it's really important to understand, especially when you're in business.
Wow. All right. All right. You ready for another question?
I'm ready to go.
If I wanted to improve my intellectual health using phone apps, what would you recommend?
So here's the thing. For me, the apps aren't necessarily always about intellectual health. It's about freeing up your intellect in general. And
perfect. Okay.
I'm not that smart of a person. And to be honest, a lot of people aren't either. Over half the population has a below average IQ. The other half have a higher than average IQ. And for me, I'm lazy. So I like to use the abilities of other people or the abilities of machines to make my intellect better, which is why I like to use AI specifically. I'm talking Google Bard, I'm talking ChatGPT, all those types of apps to really allow productivity to happen and allow me to expand not only my intellect, but my abilities as a person as well.
Very cool. That's interesting. All right, let's see what happened on your life journey that led you to this kind of advice.
So, as an entrepreneur, we all get bogged down with work, right? We're always trying to do 400 different things, and simple things like working with the media, for instance, that can be a full-time job for a person. And sometimes entrepreneurs like me just can't afford it, right? We don't all have $20,000 for a PR firm to be able to send out messages to all the media. With ChatGPT, it allowed me to write my press releases really, really quickly, literally input a 20-word prompt, and it shoots out press releases for me. It shoots out promo materials for me that are copywritten in a better way than I can actually do, in a better way that communicates with my ideal clients easier and better than I do. So it allows me to free up that space, and it allows me to see proven formulas that have been used before, but catered to my business as well. So not only does it increase my intellect as far as copywriting goes, as far as being able to do my own PR, it increases my time and just my general knowledge of how to do things.
Very cool. All right. So what on your life journey led you to this then?
Really? Not having enough time. That didn't answer the question, did it? Not having enough time and needing to do those different things within my business really led me towards the AI side of things and the things, the robotic side of things that actually get things done quicker and easier for me.
Do you have any app recommendations outside of ChatGPT?
There's Google Bard. There's any CRM, to be honest. If you're managing a business, if you don't have a CRM, a customer relationship management system in place, you need to have that to have a sustainable business, right? So those types of things really do help to improve your productivity and your actual intellect too, because if you have those things, you can see the funnel, the process that you're putting your clients through, and refine it as well. It really helps to understand where you bring people into your business and how you shoot them through it. Sounds weird, but it works.
Just a little. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much, Jesse. I think it's time for us to bring everyone out and do a little round robin.
Absolutely.
Hey, Christopher. Hey, Donna. How you guys doing?
Hey, good.
All right. Well, we're going to start. I will go ahead and refresh you real quick. How to improve intellectual health with phone apps. My recommendation is an app that is science-based with research called Lumosity. You can do about 5 minutes a day and help increase your intellectual health. Christopher, what are your thoughts on that? Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of it. I've never actually used it before.
Probably because you don't have a phone.
I do have one, but I barely use it.
I'm just kidding with you. Donna, have you heard of it? Any tips on that or feedback?
I have heard about it, but I've never used it. So you're inspiring me.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm sure they got like a free trial or something somewhere that we can do. Jesse, have you ever heard of Lumosity?
I have used it, actually,
Okay.
and it's pretty good. The different games that it features are challenging sometimes, which is kind of nice to see. Sometimes other things aren't quite as challenging. So.
I agree with that. All right, Christopher, can you real quickly refresh us what your tip was?
My tip was to learn to live without it.
I love it. Donna, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts on Chris? My thoughts on Christopher are that I hugely admire you. I think it's a great thing to do. I think too many of us get a little bit addicted to those devices, and the fact that you've been able to not only stay away from it, but maintain and sustain your business by staying away from it, I think is really admirable. My life has been, around technology, and even though I don't know how much of it works, I've always had to know where to go for answers and which buttons to push. And I think the fact that you stepped away from it is very cool. Good for you.
Yeah, I think that's actually really amazing. Inspirational, Christopher. I think we're all going to change our tips for next time. No phones. Jesse, what are your thoughts on Christopher's tip?
Actually, it's what he first said, was that it destroys focus. And I couldn't agree more. I think that phone in the wrong hands, just like any tool in the wrong hands, can completely destroy focus. And I don't necessarily think that it's throwing the phone into the garbage can. I think it's understanding that if we're trying to multitask on there, or if we've got Facebook popping up with 46 notifications while we're trying to do something, it destroys that focus. And while I don't necessarily agree with his tip, I understand the whole point of not necessarily having those other distractions happening that do destroy productivity.
To hop on that, I know a lot of my circle and my entrepreneurial friends, I mean, I've been on Do Not Disturb since probably 2015. So all those notifications stay away until I'm ready for it. But I also feel like I don't use them, but I think there are some sort of focus apps out there, apps that, kind of help time or make you focus on a task. So maybe that's something to look into as well if you don't want to throw your phone away, like Christopher. All right, great. Well, hey, Donna, can you quickly refresh us what your tip was?
My tip was to listen to news coverage and really pay attention to news coverage. But instead of looking at it as something that's overwhelming, instead of look at it as something where you can generate compassion and understanding of, as you said, the reporters, but also the people who are in the news, whether you like them or not, whether you agree with them or not, try to find some compassion in every news story add some compassion to every news story you hear.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people that get in the news and the media, they're doing it to help change the world. I mean, there's not many people that get in there like, I'm going to nefariously make false news to ruin people's lives. So that's a good point to make sure you kind of try to.
There are a few of those, though. We know there are a few of those people out there, and it's also how we respond to it. Somebody can give you a trigger, but you don't necessarily have to react to the trigger. So it takes both parties to decide how to do that.
Cool. That's a very good point. Christopher, what are your thoughts on compassion for news media outlets?
I'm actually, again, a bit more of an extreme case because I prefer getting independent news, if anything, or direct reports from, of all places, Twitter. Like, I follow enough independent accounts that will put out real information. It might be contradicting to what the news might be saying, but it's a different perspective that a lot of people would dismiss immediately.
What do you want to name some of the sources that you follow? A couple of them?
They're just larger independent accounts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Just curious. A lot of Twitter, follow the specific accounts that you want to follow and grab your news that way.
Yeah.
Jesse, what are your thoughts on Donna's tip?
So, Donna, you're wonderful. However, I'm a person that doesn't do news, period. And there's a reason for that. I'm all about being focused within my life, and what's happening in another part of the world generally does not matter to me because there's no way that I can actually affect it unless I'm donating something, or I'm not going to help on a flight to Ukraine and help through the war effort over there. You know how that is? So because I can't be part of it, I don't necessarily even need to know about it. The important things, of course, I want to know about. I want to know about very, very specific things in my local area, but I'm not going to travel across the world. So why do you think I should keep up with the news still then?
Is that a question you're asking me?
Question for you.
I think you should keep up with it because everything does connect you in some way to someone else. And that's kind of metaphysical and maybe sounds a little woo-woo, but I think it's true. And I think if you want to use Ukraine as an example, I think that there's a situation there where all of Europe could be affected by a war that goes sideways, as it already has, and that will eventually affect the Americas. So I think maybe some of it does affect us a little bit more, even though it's indirect. But I don't think it's an argument. I certainly respect all sides of that, just as I respect all the people who are making news, whether I agree with them or not. So that's okay. That's your choice.
Okay.
And on that, a touch a little bit. I mean, especially economy-wise, it's definitely affecting us. The war in the Ukraine specifically, and the war in Gaza obviously is going to affect macroeconomics, which will come down and hurt us. And when we're sending billions of dollars out there, whether you're for it or against it, that's going to affect us at some point as entrepreneurs. So,
but I also want to respect what Jesse said, because if he doesn't feel, whether I think it affects him or not isn't important. It's how he feels it affects him. And if it's a distraction for him from other things he's doing with family and personal life and business, then that's a choice he makes.
That's a valid point. Well done, Donna. Perfect. Yeah. One thing I've also heard about the news from a lot of news reporters is that local news kind of take the bias out. I don't know. All the big conglomerates, you can do whatever, think whatever, but a lot of your local news is something that you may want to get in touch with your reporters in your local city.
Good point.
All right, Jesse, can you give us a quick refresher on your tip?
AI, basically using it to increase your productivity, increase your general intelligence of how things work, and to get more stuff done, be more focused.
Very cool. Christopher, any thoughts on that?
I actually when I got my phone back in August, I started using ChatGPT-2 for ideation and other business stuff. So I've been using that tip, you could say.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, AI is definitely changing this. Donna, what are your thoughts? You use AI in your news app?
I don't. And I have a question for Jesse about that. You know, the Screen Actors Guild was just on strike for quite some time, and AI was one of the issues. Do you ever find yourself concerned in your business or related businesses to yours? Are you ever concerned that AI might be giving incorrect information that then might get disseminated and further become even more infected?
So yes, I'm very afraid of that all the time, specifically in my business, which you were in the media, and I don't know if you realize how hypnosis was treated in the media. So my business was hypnosis. It was basically, people said it was mind control. It's not. That's a bunch of hooey. But because
I love Jesse. What's happening here?
Yeah.
pretty much. But because of how it was treated in the media in the past, everything that I put out, I fact checked everything before it gets put out. Even if I do use AI to create a prompt and write an article, or create a prompt for social media posts or stuff like that, I always do my fact checking first. And I've been doing it since 2007. So for me, it's a pretty quick read through. I know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
But for others, they may have to find more reliable sources to be able to fact check it properly, right? So yeah, that is a huge concern for me, specifically because it does affect my business. And with the Screen Actors stuff, I'm not as worried because that's not my business.
Right.
But I also, there's a metaphor I want to use. We can be afraid like they were afraid 150 years ago. The trains are coming. Oh no, the trains are coming. They're coming through. They're going to wreck the world. Guess what? Trains made everything we have now, basically. Having that progress come through created the world that we live in. So we can either fall behind progress or we can catch up to progress. And if we fall behind, we're screwed, for lack of a better term.
I just don't want the trains to crash too much.
Only when Skynet takes over.
On that note, a little bit, Donna, I mean, just like with news, you have to choose. Some news has major bias, and some news we try to make no bias. AI is going to be almost the same way. I mean, it's going to be privatized. Like, OpenAI and ChatGPT was built to not be privatized, but Microsoft has already changed that. So now it's like, okay, so do I read this really biased news and use this really biased AI? Then you're probably going to end up getting those biases. So it's going to be just as difficult as choosing your new media source as it is to choose your AI source.
And I actually don't have a strong opinion on whether Jesse is correct or incorrect. I don't have that opinion of it. I just wondered what his reaction was and what his concerns were.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, this is going to bring us to my favorite part of the show. So we now have to create our weekly challenge that we will challenge you guys every day as well. It needs to cost $0 so that anybody in the world can do it in any country or any socioeconomic status and take less than 5 minutes a day. That will improve your intellectual health with phone apps. Any ideas so far?
I might play a little bit with AI just to see how I feel about it. Do you, Jesse, have a particular do you use ChatGPT? What do you recommend?
I use ChatGPT and I use Google Bard. I actually prefer Google Bard. It seems like, just like the news media, it seems like a more rounded out app, I suppose. It gives a better view on both sides of an issue if you're looking to create an article or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other ideas for a daily challenge? What about maybe setting aside an hour a day of no phone?
Done. I'm actually a little bit closer to Christopher than I knew with that.
Jesse,
that'd be a good
can you
start.
put your phone away for that? Oh, go ahead, Christopher.
That'd be a good start, but I mean, there's still going to be, reaching over, or grabbing it. Like it takes, you have to, if you want to really make that challenge more of a challenge of like a longer term way, would be start out with an hour a day and see if you can make it to a full day without using it. If you can get to the full day, you can push it further from there. Full
day without your phone. So that's a little chaotic for some of us, me particularly, and probably a lot of this world. But an hour a day. So I actually do that from at 6:30 I have an alarm set, and then at 8 p.m. I have another alarm set. So I know at 6:30 I have a half hour to kind of finalize if I'm doing anything. But I actually do an hour with like no electronics and no work. So I have an hour just to kind of like focus on whoever I'm with, or read, or do something like that as well. But yeah, I think that an hour without a phone a day. Do you guys think that maybe we should start with a half hour and make it a little easier? What are you guys' thoughts? I already know your answer, Christopher.
I think we should all step across the line just a little bit, because we have 3 people here who are kind of not in agreement, even though we like each other a lot. I can see that, but we're not quite in agreement on certain things. What if each one of us stepped over that line a little bit and spent just a little bit of time of our day every day in the next week doing something that we're not comfortable with that one of the other ones does?
Okay, can you give us examples? Remember, this challenge is for the whole world as well.
The whole world. Well, then you might already be using ChatGPT. You might already be listening to news coverage. You might have already tossed your phone. But what if you didn't? What if those are the 3 things that make you go, "Ooh, I could never"? What if you tried it?
An optional challenge. So either you have to read a news article every day from DonnaAppedoni.substack.com.
Well, those aren't news articles. Those aren't news articles. Those are daily motivators. So if you're talking about a daily motivator, that's what that Substack account is for.
Okay.
If you're talking about news coverage, it would be one of the other options I offered.
Okay, so maybe you can either put your phone away for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Or you can. What would you do with the AI, Jesse?
I would use it to figure out social media prompts to post on a person's timeline. To get interaction.
What about the people that don't use social media?
Well, that's a problem. I don't know who they are. AI could be used for almost anything. It really could. If a person's in business, they could use it for any business operations. It comes down to it's not really useful in your real life. It's mostly for business purposes, at least for me. I've never really used it in my real life around the house because it's almost impossible to do. So yeah, I don't know what a good challenge for AI would be.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Jesse, because I literally would be fired if I used it in my work. I mean, it's just that's just a truth. But I think there are things that I can try with it just to get to know it a little bit better. And that might be something that someone can try. If there's anyone who is hesitant in any way, just try it for something that isn't work or isn't important, and just see where it takes you and get to know the platform a little bit better.
Okay, so I think that I may have what we need. So we're going to do an optional challenge. First time ever on the show. It's going to be crazy. So you can either do 30 minutes a day, and you can switch every day. I'm probably going to switch so I can hit all 3 of these. 30 minutes a day with no phone, right? Turn your phone off, put it away for 30 minutes, and get started on the Christopher path. Or you can go ahead and read an article on BBC so you can start learning the whole global affairs. Or you can go to Google Bard or ChatGPT and ask them a question that you want to learn research on.
I like it.
That works.
Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, it's officially posted. We have our daily challenge. And now we will be ending the show since we did all the work we were supposed to do. So thank you all for coming. It was great talking to you. This was a really good episode. Very unique and timely. And thank you guys so much. It was great to have you. Any last words you guys have for the audience?
Now, you all 3 of you just took me to a higher level, and I appreciate getting to know all of you.
Yes, that's what we want to hear.
I like it.
All right, thanks, guys. And so that concludes another episode of Millionaires Are Made. This time is focused on getting smarter and your intellectual health by using your phone and apps, AI, or throwing your phone away and making your brain learn how to focus without it. Hope you guys all grab some tips, and at least one of them will help you improve on your journey in life. Tune in about another half an hour, and we'll have another episode again every Wednesday. Thank you so much. And if you want to be a guest, or you have a topic, or you want to be a sponsor,